Scene start. NINA. I was very much alive, yet he came and told me I was green grass, dead. It was the year I weighed the most. To lose weight, for 2 years straight, I gave my lunch to a poor classmate who sat at my desk. Afterward, I became so thin, like a reed, and went abroad to work as a model. When I returned to the country, that poor student had become a famous star. In a TV interview, his eyes were red-rimmed. He said, "There was once a person who said they wanted to lose weight. For 2 whole years, she always brought me lunch. After graduation, I learned that because of me, she developed anorexia and had to go abroad for treatment. The last time I saw her," the man choked up, raising his hand to form a small circle. Her wrist was only this thin, sobbing. I had gone abroad to be a model, but because of my love for food, my weight constantly fluctuated and my career didn't progress. After struggling for so long with no results, I decided to return to my hometown alone. I walked along the old streets, visiting the room I once rented to study for college entrance exams. Standing outside the door, I took a picture. It had been 5 years, and I finally posted a selfie on social media. The caption read, "The girl from back then has grown up. No one can bully her anymore." After posting, acquaintances and strangers alike, even people I hadn't contacted in a long time, all liked it simultaneously. Before I could even be happy for 2 minutes, a delivery guy suddenly brought a funeral wreath to my doorstep. He looked at the house address, compared it to his order, and asked, "Excuse me, are you Nina Nguyen?" I wanted to say no, but couldn't utter the words because it was indeed me. He politely handed it to me. "Ms. Nguyen, this is your wreath." I silently deleted the post, crying as I dragged my suitcase home. In high school, I had no friends at all. I was the type of person who was easily bullied, truly a soft persimmon in the classroom. Because I didn't let the mean girls copy my answers during exams, they hated me. Because I was tall, chubby, and not pretty, the blonde girls hated me too. Because I was quiet and withdrawn, even the teachers didn't like me. 3 years of high school were like a nightmare. So, after graduation, I deleted all contacts, cut ties with everyone, and went to study abroad. I never imagined they'd be so persistent. I had disappeared for 5 years and still received a funeral wreath just to continue being bullied. What did I ever do wrong to heaven? When I got home, I sobbed uncontrollably. In 5 years abroad, the only thing I learned was how to express my emotions. When I was sad, I cried, crying until I no longer felt sad. But my whole family was very worried. They had never seen me cry like that. Even during the stressful college entrance exams, I hadn't cried. My parents thought I was unemployed and overly stressed, which was why I was like this. So, they invited my cousin Sam over. He had bright dyed blonde hair and sat leisurely on my bed, saying in a lazy tone, "Hey little cousin, I'm a star now. Do you want to appear with me? Want to get famous?" I didn't reply, just quietly walked out and closed the door. I never expected my cousin really was a star, but the kind who was famous at the bottom no one remembered his face. Recently, he hadn't had any prominent activities, so he decided to create some drama to regain fame. He signed up for a controversial TV show called Intertwined Fates. The show's premise was to invite several ex-couples to swap partners and date again from scratch to test their feelings. However, all his ex-girlfriends refused to participate, feeling embarrassed. Right when I posted my selfie, he immediately thought of me. I thought the idea wasn't bad either. So, we each grabbed a suitcase and aggressively went to film the show. The other guests were all famous in the same way Sam was no one but has-beens. I thought there wouldn't be many fans coming to watch the filming, but unexpectedly it was packed. I was a little nervous, so I leaned in and whispered, "Brother, are your fans here?" Sam, wearing sunglasses, confidently jutted his chin out. "Of course. At least half of them are my fans. Try to show off, this is your chance to be on camera." I put on my sunglasses too. "Don't worry, walking the red carpet is my specialty." The crowd opened a 2-meter-wide path, security guards stood on both sides, and cameras were ready in front of us. I linked arms with my cousin, we both flipped our hair, and casually stepped onto the red carpet. With every step we took, the fans' cheers erupted like surging, endless waves. The two of us immediately got into character. My brother kept waving politely to the fans, while I hugged his arm, swaying and posing with full confidence. There was no emotion in my eyes, only the fervent desire to look beautiful on screen. Both of us were deeply immersed in our performance, pretending to be at the Met Gala, when a security guard in front suddenly raised his hand to block us. "We're filming, don't block the way." After saying that, he forcefully pulled and pushed us out of the main path. Into the fan ranks? The obstacle had been neatly cleared. The door of the black sedan parked behind slowly opened. A tall, well-built man in a black suit stepped out. Immediately, deafening screams erupted. He was tall, walked with a straight posture, and had a very calm aura. Dark glasses obscured part of his face, and he walked quickly, just a nod to the fans before heading straight into the filming area. Sam said angrily, "Tell me, what am I worse at than him? Why am I not famous?" I replied coldly, "He wears high-end designer shoes while you're walking on stilts. How can you compare?" My cousin sneered and turned away, not wanting to say more. I thought Sam saying he was a has-been was just modesty, but unexpectedly, he really was a has-been. We forgot to bring our staff passes to the set. He had to call his manager, who called his assistant. The assistant then called security to verify, and it took almost half an hour for us to get in. When we entered, everyone had already gathered. The show was about to begin. The MC held the mic and introduced, "Next, please welcome the special guest everyone has been waiting for, Luke." As soon as the MC's voice faded, a hoarse, almost choked voice called out behind me, "Nina Nguyen." I turned around. Before I could even see clearly, I was pulled into a tight, strong embrace. The tall, broad-shouldered man held me so tightly with his firm arms that I could barely breathe. His deep, trembling voice whispered in my ear, Nina Nguyen, is it really you?" I felt a warm, damp sensation on my neck. He was crying. I was stunned, not knowing what to do, and looked to my cousin for help. Sam stood there, mouth agape, frozen like a statue. I couldn't take it anymore, so I kicked his shin hard. "Do something, do anything." He blinked, regaining his composure. "Hey, buddy, are you okay? This is my sister, you know. It's a bit early to be hugging someone before we've even started dating, isn't it?" The man took a deep breath, trying to calm down. He slowly released me and looked up, his red eyes staring straight into mine. "I'm sorry." I stood frozen. Luke. Luke was the only person I didn't hate during my high school years. After our classes were split into science and humanities, we sat at the same desk for 2 years. He was thin and dark, his family was poor, while I was tall and chubby, and my personality was quiet. No one liked to play with me. I often looked at him, shaking my head and sighing, "Oh, your figure is so nice, slim limbs, a waist even smaller than an A4 sheet." And he would look at me and swallow. "Oh, your meal is so delicious. Grilled meat, hamburgers, and pastries every day." Just like that, the two of us gradually got used to each other's quirks. I knew he was so poor he had nothing for lunch. His house was far, so he couldn't go home at noon, only eating a little steamed bun in the morning and enduring until the afternoon. He also understood that I had a habit of compensatory eating when stressed, feeling wronged, or sad. Anything I touched, I would eat. After many failed attempts to lose weight, I finally came up with an idea. "I can't eat anymore, can you help me eat?" At first, he didn't agree, and I didn't eat anything either. Then I pretended to hold a cold lunchbox. "If you don't eat it, it'll spoil. What a waste." After a few times like that, he reluctantly accepted. But afterward, sometimes 150-200 yuan would appear discreetly hidden in my bag. The reality was, the food I brought was indeed nutritious. Luke grew rapidly. Initially, we were the same height, but by graduation, he was a head taller than me, with broad shoulders and a broad chest. His uniform no longer looked thin and scrawny. As for me, just as expected, I was as thin as a reed. The last time we met, I secretly bundled all the money he had put in my bag, folded it neatly, and hid it in his book. After that, preventing him from trying to return it, I deleted his name from my friends list. From then on, we didn't speak anymore. Because of Luke's unexpected action, the show paused filming. He requested to speak privately with the production team. My cousin and I were arranged to go to a room to put away our luggage first. As soon as we entered the room, Sam slammed the door shut. "Hey, little cousin, do you know Luke?" Of course I know him. Is he famous now? I wondered. I don't pay attention to idols or domestic entertainment news, so I'm not really sure. I just remembered seeing a billboard at the airport with a face very similar to his, but it looked completely different from his scrawny high school image, so I didn't think much of it. "Very famous," my cousin said with dissatisfaction. Since his debut, he starred in 5 films, 3 of which were huge successes, and he's very skilled at playing loyal, devoted roles, never getting close to women, only loving his deceased White Moonlight. Are you serious? He must read too many CEO novels on Jew, thinking he's some kind of chaebol. At this, Sam looked at me suspiciously. Hey, are you two really nothing more? I just shrugged. No, we just sat at the same desk, nothing else. Sat at the same desk? My cousin was surprised. Oh my God, what is this? I don't understand. Could you be that desk mate with anorexia he mentioned in that interview? I immediately frowned. You're the one with anorexia, I eat like this. How can you call it anorexia? That's right, my cousin said, scratching his head. Then why did he hug you and cry so hard? Ah, I get it. Maybe he mistook you for someone else. I predict he'll definitely try to make you a substitute for his White Moonlight later. Based on my movie-watching experience, these White Moonlights usually come back to life after seeing an ad or something. Who knows, maybe one day she'll really pop up and you'll be in trouble. I frowned. What are you talking about? What's a White Moonlight? What's a substitute? I really couldn't take it anymore. Sam opened an interview clip and handed me his phone. Here, watch. On the screen, Luke sat on a light gray sofa. He wore a white shirt with sleeves rolled up, looking both relaxed and elegant. Beside him, the host smiled and asked, I heard you debuted quite late. Did you have any girlfriends before that? He gently shook his head. No, at this age, I've never been in love. Really? I don't believe it. Luke smiled softly. It's true, it was just a one-sided crush. The MC was surprised. With a face like yours, a one-sided crush. It was just high school. His voice deepened, his gaze distant, as if returning to the past. She often told me I was thin, with small limbs and a slim waist. I thought they were compliments, but in reality, I was so insecure I wanted to die. The MC chuckled, but you still liked her. She didn't mean anything bad, it was just my own insecurity. Luke's eyes gradually softened. She was truly very kind. A round face, fair and smooth skin, soft to the touch. Her dark eyes sparkled like this. When she secretly ate during class, she'd cover it with a book, her cheeks puffed up as she chewed like a mouse. He paused, lowering his voice. Knowing I had no money for lunch, she came up with reasons every day to bring me homemade meals. She said she was dieting and had to go out for salad. Luke gave a self-deprecating smile, his voice growing even deeper. I even believed her, truly too naive. Later, I heard from other friends that she didn't actually go out to eat anything. She just walked around the schoolyard and then came back to class, pretending to have finished eating. At this, his eyes welled up. She loved to eat, loved sweets and the smell of grilled food, yet for me, she starved herself every day. The MC asked softly, What happened then? Did you confess to her? There wasn't enough time. Luke closed his eyes, tears streaming down his cheeks. After graduation, she disappeared. She deleted me from her contacts, locked all her accounts, and her phone number was no longer reachable. I searched for her for a very long time. A friend saw how miserable I was and finally told me the truth. She suffered from severe anorexia and had to go abroad for treatment. I always dreamed of the last day I saw her. I held her wrist, wanting to tell her I loved her, but when I looked into her eyes, I became a coward. You know what? I still don't understand why I was such a coward back then. The MC gently asked, Why didn't you go abroad to find her? Luke trembled slightly. There wasn't enough time. His voice was hoarser now, his eyes red with tears. A classmate said, She has passed away. Do you know, I still can't forget the last time I held her hand. He choked up, raising his hand, using his index finger and thumb to form a small circle. Her wrist was only this tiny. He couldn't continue. He covered his face with both hands, soft sobs escaping. The camera zoomed in, a tear rolling down his face, soaking into his trousers, creating a dark, wet stain. The video stopped there. I sat in silence, my emotions in turmoil. So he told everyone I was dead. As usual, I opened the comments section. Sobbing I'm crying so hard, is there really a faded White Moonlight in real life who dies young? Oh my God, this is the first time I've hoped he has a girlfriend. He'll probably never forgive himself. Crying, this is such a sensitive time to tell an old story, perhaps to quell rumors of his ship with Chloe. The show announced a change in guests. Luke was initially only scheduled to be a guest in the observation room, talk off script, and then leave, but unexpectedly, he changed his mind and decided to participate with Chloe. Coincidentally, their new drama was airing, so the production team immediately paired them as a temporary couple. In the main filming studio, Sam and I walked down the stairs. In the first-floor lobby, Luke stood tall under the bright lights, his slender figure seemingly surrounded by a halo. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine. For just a moment, my heart seemed to stop. Beside him was a girl in a navy blue Jika uniform, her face sweet, laughing and talking happily, but halfway through, she realized he wasn't paying attention. She lightly tugged at his sleeve, but he still didn't snap out of it. The girl frowned, looking in the direction he was staring, and saw me. Just then, my cousin and I also stopped in the lobby. "Senior, who is she?" Sam immediately asked. "Chloe, are you also joining this show?" He pulled me closer and happily introduced. "This is my girlfriend, Nina Nguyen." The girl glanced at me, her face showing annoyance. "Who asked you, Senior? If it weren't for your sake, I certainly wouldn't be participating in this low-quality show." Even without anyone telling me, I already knew she was Chloe, Luke's junior from his company, one of the 4 rising stars in the entertainment industry. My cousin, however, didn't care, laughing loudly. "Chloe, why aren't you replying to my WeChat messages? I bought you a gift." I wasn't surprised. After all, I had seen Chloe through the posters plastered on my cousin's room walls. "Go away," she frowned and walked off. "You have a girlfriend and you're still chasing me. Aren't you ashamed?" "Jealous, are we?" Sam happily chased after her. "Breaking up is just like with the other couples on the show. We're all exes, right?" A deep voice interjected. "Is this your boyfriend?" Luke stood blocking my path, preventing me from looking after them. "Ah, that's right." I forced a smile. "Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Sam." After all, I had to uphold the contract. I couldn't reveal any secrets or I'd face heavy penalties. Luke nodded slightly. "That's Chloe from my company. She debuted 6 months after me, so she's my junior. Are you and she definitely just friends?" I was surprised. Why are you asking me that? Do I seem like the jealous type?" He was silent for a moment, then lowered his head. "She's quite famous too. What about you? Aren't you famous?" I let out a tiny, stifled laugh. "You're famous too, very famous." In high school, we were both quiet people. Before sitting at the same desk, we had never exchanged a single word. Now he was suddenly talking so much, it felt strange. He had changed a lot. Money really can change a person. Actually, his facial structure hadn't changed, just his skin was fairer, his features more refined, and his posture taller and more stable. Most importantly, his aura had transformed completely. Like someone who once struggled, now suddenly, a young master surrounded by spotlights. "It's not money." He leaned down a bit, winking mischievously. "You raised me, didn't you? If it weren't for you, I might only be about 1.7 meters tall due to malnutrition." "How tall are you now?" 1.89. He stood up straight, gently lifting his chin. "My career owes you a debt." A sharp female voice interjected. "Senior, come here for a moment. There's something I want to discuss." Chloe was standing by the door of the makeup room, the warm yellow light casting on her face, making her look both distant and beautiful. Luke looked at me. "I'll be back in a moment." He turned and followed her. Sam immediately sighed in disappointment. "Clearly, I'm not bad looking, so why doesn't Chloe like me at all?" I raised an eyebrow. "Maybe it's your mouth." Finally, the filming began. The production team announced the first task. "Guess who I am?" The male guests were blindfolded and only allowed to touch the female guests' cheeks, hands, or ears to guess their identity. The first one was Luke. He chose to identify by the female guest's right hand. Because he was so famous, as soon as he appeared, the live comments flooded the screen. "I can't believe Luke is on a dating show today. Has he forgotten his White Moonlight? Men, so quick to forget. Can't be helped. The dead are dead, the living must move on. I knew it. No one can resist our Chloe." 7 of us girls stood in a line, each extending a hand, waiting for him to identify us. I stood third, next to Chloe. Luke moved quickly, gently extending his index finger to touch the fingertip of the person opposite him, then lightly stroking the side of the middle finger. After confirming, he moved to the next person. When it was my turn, he did the same. Only, when his finger brushed past the thin skin on the side of my hand, he suddenly paused. His tall figure stood in front of me, blocking the bright light. He leaned his head slightly, the black lace blindfold further accentuating his high nose bridge and pink lips. His slender finger gently traced my wrist, a warm body temperature radiating, then seeping into the gaps between my fingers, making me shiver. The comments flared up again. Hey, why is he touching her for so long? He must think it's Chloe. Who is that girl? Her name seems to be Nina Nguyen, Sam's girlfriend. Who's Sam? Wait, I see them holding hands for real. Luke, despite being blindfolded, tilted his head towards the MC, his voice calm and steady. I guess this person is Nina Nguyen. The entire studio fell silent for a few seconds. I immediately pulled my hand back. He guessed correctly, but according to unspoken rules, everyone was supposed to guess their own partner to build atmosphere first. Yet he chose me, my cousin's theoretical girlfriend. Hey, what are you doing? Sam unexpectedly stood up. Why did you guess my girlfriend? Don't you have a girlfriend? Luke calmly removed the black blindfold, raised both hands, and said evenly, I'm sorry, I really don't have a girlfriend. The MC quickly intervened. According to the rules, it's not mandatory to guess your own partner correctly. Therefore, Luke's answer is still valid, and since he guessed correctly, it means the pairing was successful, so the two of you will share a room tonight. My cousin was furious, his face turning pale. When it was his turn with his girlfriend already taken, he had to make a wild guess, Chloe. Unexpectedly, he was right. He immediately looked as happy as if he'd won the lottery, grinning nonstop. Chloe, however, looked at me and Luke with a cold, displeased expression. The comments erupted again. What is Luke doing? My ship has been broken up. Why do I feel like this couple, Luke and Nina, something's not right? This must just be the show's mission to break up ships, right? That evening, the show launched a redemption mission. If the couples completed a game together, they would have a chance to win back the right to share a room. The condition was that both sides had to agree to participate. I didn't hesitate. I immediately chose yes. The result was that when I returned to my room, I saw Sam packing his luggage. Sorry, little cousin, he said with a silly grin. A rare chance to be alone with my goddess. I guessed correctly. How could I pass it up? Anyway, there are cameras in the room, so I can't do anything. Just think of it as sleeping in a hostel for a night and it's over. Having said that, he grabbed his suitcase and vanished, waving as he ran. Bye-bye, little cousin. Sam, you stop right there. I chased after him, furious, wanting only to teach him a lesson. As soon as I ran out, I bumped into someone's chest, hard as a wall. He was holding a suitcase, and I didn't know when he had been standing there. Careful, his voice was deep, with a hint of worry. Luke caught me, his hand gripping my waist. HMPH, I winced, holding my nose. The impact was too strong, my nose hurt, and tears automatically fell. I just had nose surgery, don't cry. Luke was worried, quickly wiping away my tears with his hand. If you don't like it, I'll switch rooms immediately. No need, I said, covering my nose, not letting him continue. But he was persistent, bending his head, pushing my hand away, and wiping away tears again. Don't cry anymore, please. I was almost frantic. Don't wipe anymore, I'm begging you to. He stared at my nose, then slowly his expression went blank. I widened my eyes and whispered, Is it crooked? He gently lifted my face, examined it left and right, and hesitated. A tiny bit crooked. That's outrageous. Everyone knows that CEOs in dramas usually have a very skilled doctor friend who arrives instantly and fixes everything in a flash. Luke, with his top-tier celebrity status, naturally also had a private cosmetic surgeon, whom he often relied on to fix his face in case of an incident. Thinking back, my nose became crooked because I bumped into him, so he had to take responsibility. Therefore, in the middle of the night, he drove me to his friend's clinic. The neon lights outside the car window flickered. I sat in the passenger seat, hugging a small compact mirror, inspecting my nose from every angle. It wasn't too crooked, just a little swollen. But to be safe, I decided to go for an examination anyway. I had once witnessed a senior model at my company who, after nose surgery, didn't listen to the doctor and went traveling, drank alcohol, smoked, and wore sunglasses, leading to the implant almost piercing through her nose. That image still haunted me, making me treat the doctor's instructions like sacred scripture. The traffic light turned red. Luke tilted his head and looked at me. Does it hurt? I closed the compact mirror and shook my head. No, it doesn't hurt. Why did you think about getting a nose job? He looked at me for a few seconds, his eyes darkening. Did your boyfriend say something? I turned my face away. No, the company required it. As for Sam, he wouldn't dare say anything to me. Suddenly, I remembered high school. He looked at me with the exact same gaze. Back then, I had a secret crush on Liam, the class heartthrob. Every school has that type of male student, handsome, from a well-off family, a little mischievous but charming when he smiles. His academic performance wasn't great, but he was eloquent, making teachers reluctant to scold him even when they knew better. The so-called fluttering heart of a 17-year-old seemed truly simple and somewhat ridiculous. That day, as I was studying, I suddenly got my period and I noticed bloodstains on my chair. Liam, who sat right behind me, saw it. He gently nudged my chair with his foot, then took off his uniform jacket and handed it to me. Here, take this and go to the restroom. I felt my face flush. When I returned to class, the bloodstain on the chair had been cleaned. I looked up and saw him leaning against the wall, chatting with his friends. He tilted his head, looked at me, and smiled. My heart pounded like a drum. From that moment, my feelings were beyond saving. Only Luke knew about this. During that afternoon's self-study period, I felt dejected, idly writing in my notebook. Before I knew it, the entire page was filled with Liam's name. Luke, sitting next to me, watched silently as I wrote his name again. I realized with a start and closed my notebook. He looked up, his gaze settling on my face. For the first time, I felt his eyes were beautiful, slightly upturned at the corners, single eyelids like a fan, long and straight eyelashes. I clasped my hands as if begging, please keep it a secret. He looked at me for a few seconds, then nodded slightly. Okay. My one-sided crush ended the day I returned the freshly washed jacket to Liam. The hallway was empty. He was standing with some boys from other classes. Both sides of the hallway were filled with rowdy boys, with only a clear space in the middle. I had to lower my head and squeeze through the crowd. As I passed, the group of boys fell silent. I hurried faster, but just as I escaped the crowd, I heard a sneering laugh behind me. Hey, Chubby Nina? I stopped. That was the nickname I hated most. I had asked them many times not to call me that, but it was no use. She said you look like a white pig, another boy added loudly. Who said that? You said that, another retorted. The two sides burst into laughter, the hallway filled with boisterous sounds, and Liam also laughed, revealing a small, adorable canine tooth. But when I saw that smile, I suddenly didn't like him anymore. I rushed back to the classroom, held back my tears, sat down, and opened my book as if nothing had happened. What's wrong? Luke asked softly. Nothing, I replied, my voice hoarse. He looked at me for a moment. Did he bully you again? No, I said no more. Before school ended, I waited until almost everyone had left, then brought the jacket to return to Liam. Thanks, I've washed it. I was about to turn and leave. Wait a moment, let's go home together. No need, we're not going the same way. I turned my back. Hey, he grabbed my backpack strap. I heard you like me. I hesitated. That's not true. Then why is my name all over your notebook? I sit behind you. Luke saw it, and so did I. I nodded lightly, pulling my strap back. I was just practicing my handwriting. That evening, when I arrived back at my rented place, I happened to see Luke sitting on a stone bench, his face bruised, the corner of his lip torn. He looked terrible. I ran to him. What happened to you? Nothing, he looked up and replied. You live here too. You too. I remember your house being very far away. Yeah, my dad lives here with his new wife. I came to ask for living expenses, and he hit me. Oh, seeing his bruised face, I gently said, why don't you come over to my place? I can help you with your injuries. He turned his face away, feeling awkward. No need, my parents aren't home. The moment I said this, both of us froze. I quickly corrected myself. I mean, there's a maid, an auntie who used to be a nurse. She can help you put on medicine. She won't tell anyone either. My parents are usually busy with work, rarely home. For my convenience in studying, they rented an apartment near the school and hired a maid to ensure my nutritious meals. I led Luke home. The maid kindly cleaned his wounds, bandaged him, and kept him for dinner. The next day, I noticed the boy who used to call me Chubby Nina didn't come to class. He was absent for a whole week. When he returned, he no longer dared to tease me. He would avoid me when he saw me. As for Liam, a few hard-to-hide injuries also appeared on his face. The Maybach sped through the night. Luke held the steering wheel with one hand, the streetlights flickering across his cheekbones in rhythm. In the car, Gople's Rialou played repeatedly, a warm yet lonely melody. 2 hours on the road, I had almost recalled my entire youth. Now, only the engine's hum and the faint yellow lights flickering on the car window remained. I easily get carsick if I use my phone, so I had to find a way to make conversation. Luke. He replied. His voice was a little deep and tired. How did you recognize my hand on the show today? He tilted his head and looked at me. Because you hold your pen incorrectly, the callus on your index finger is misplaced compared to others. I was a little surprised. You remember that too? Yes, back then, when you spent the entire class just writing Liam's name, I saw it. I fell silent. My heart seemed to skip a beat. Luke looked at me through the rearview mirror, his voice growing deeper. Have you been doing well all these years? Just okay, I smiled faintly, my finger tracing a seam on my pants. After high school, I went abroad to study and worked as a model. After graduating from university, I was about to sign with an international modeling agency, but they said my face was a bit flat and suggested I get a nose job. Actually, I wasn't satisfied with my nose either, so I got a small, Western-style nose. After it was done, the company said my face was more suited for the domestic market because my eyes were too big, not giving enough of a high-fashion feel. They said with these features, I couldn't get luxury brand endorsements in Europe, so they told me to return and sign with their domestic branch. So, I came back. He was pensive for a moment, then gently said, "You are already perfect." I looked at him. Are you not feeling well? Your face is pale. No, he replied, his voice sounding even deeper. It's just thinking about those idiots who dared to comment on you like merchandise makes me angry. I smiled faintly, not knowing what to say. Actually, I was very annoyed too. What about you? Just as I finished speaking, the car stopped in front of the building. We had arrived. I unbuckled my seatbelt, looking at him again in the mirror. I heard that all these years, wherever you went, you said I was dead. We didn't have time to say more before Luke's doctor friend came to greet us. Fortunately, my nose was fine. I just needed an IV drip to reduce the swelling, and I could still film tomorrow. When the IV was in my arm, I looked at the clock and saw it was 2 a.m. You should go back first. It's late. I'll wait for you, Luke said softly. He leaned over and draped his blazer over my shoulders. Get some sleep. I'll go out and chat with my friend for a bit. Okay, I nodded, not needing to be overly polite. I curled up in his jacket, the faint scent of his cologne drifting around. Before long, my eyelids grew heavy. In a daze, I suddenly realized this scent was so familiar, like that rainy day in high school. When I hid in the library, he quietly handed me a fragrant handkerchief and gently said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." I fell into a very deep sleep. When I opened my eyes, a strange room was before me. I was still hazy, not knowing where I was when I heard Sam's noisy voice outside the door asking Luke, "Where did you take Nina? I saw everything. You carried her in from outside." I startled. Wait, this was the show's filming room from last night. In other words, we were back here. Luke's voice rang out, calm but cold. She was sick last night. I took her for an IV drip. If she was sick, you should have called me. Why did you do that? How is she now? Sam said, about to rush in. Luke leaned against the doorframe, one hand in his pocket, his voice lazy but with a hint of danger. You left her alone last night, didn't you? If you don't know how to treat her well, don't blame others. I'm not the person I used to be. You can't compete with me. Sam was angry. Whatever. Luke sighed softly, his gaze distant. I'm not the Luke of that year anymore. I'm the upgraded Luke now. Meaning, a premium, no longer the old student version. I lay in bed, hearing everything, just wanting to cover my face and groan. It was true, he was no longer the quiet person he used to be. Do you have proof that I treated her badly? Sam fumed. Fine then, Luke smirked. You can be good to someone, but don't stop others from being better than you. All right, then don't blame me for being good to Chloe, Sam retorted angrily. Then be good, Luke raised an eyebrow, still unruffled. She's not my girlfriend anyway. Stop making noise, let her sleep a bit more. With that, he closed the door. I lay in bed, pretending to sleep, my heart pounding. For some reason, I felt guilty, as if I was doing something wrong. Not long after, footsteps approached. "Are you awake?" His voice was low in my ear. I knew I couldn't pretend forever, so I slowly opened my eyes, my voice still groggy. "I'm awake." "You slept very soundly after your IV last night. I didn't want to wake you," he said with a soft chuckle. I vaguely remembered waking up for a moment in the car. At that time, he was leaning over to fasten my seatbelt. Seeing me open my eyes, he even stroked my head and gently said, "Good girl, go back to sleep." And I had drifted off again. In total, the round trip took 4 hours, the IV 2 hours. Luke had barely slept. I felt guilty. "There's still an hour and a half left before we go back. You should lie down and rest." "What about you?" "I'll lie down for a bit too." He nodded slightly, looking pleased. We each lay on a bed, turning to face each other. The distance between us was only an arm's length. Our eyes met, his gaze deep and dark, as if smiling and holding some secret. I felt my face flush, not understanding why. If I turned my back now, it would seem a bit intentional. So I closed my eyes, pretending to be calm. Just then my phone rang. I picked it up. "Hello." "Sam," he asked softly, "is that your boyfriend calling?" I nodded. "Yes." The smile in his eyes slowly faded. His voice was a soft whisper, but every word was clear. "You've always liked peace and quiet. How did you get involved with someone so noisy? Perhaps you really like him." The show filmed for several consecutive days. The activities went quite smoothly. We cooked together, went on dates, and played silly games. Sam behaved as if he were a dedicated servant. Chloe cleared her throat and he poured her water. She rotated her neck and he immediately massaged her shoulders. Every night the show opened for voting. If you completed the game, you get the right to share a room. I chose yes every night, but Luke refused every night. Luke seemed to notice these voting results. Once, right after I voted, I ran into him coming out of the bathroom, completely shirtless. "Sorry, my shirt got dirty." I froze. His shoulders were broad, his waist trim, and his abs were clearly defined. Luke stood there, letting me look for a moment, then softly asked, "So, tomorrow night, will you still choose him?" The cameras certainly didn't record this scene, so netizens felt a lot of sympathy for me. Online comments, "Even though I really like Chloe, he should at least show some discretion in front of his own girlfriend." Ha ha ha, Sam is truly infatuated with Chloe. Honestly, he treats her very well and is quite handsome. It's such a pity they couldn't successfully pair up. I feel bad for Nina Nguyen. Perhaps the show had a script from the beginning. Luke and Chloe were prearranged to break up a couple. If that's the case, then break up another couple. Why always target this one? Sam's plan to gain fame was partially successful. Comments cursing him had tens of thousands of likes. I found a quiet moment and pulled Sam to a spot without cameras. Why can't you act a little bit? At least keep up appearances, show some resistance. He shook his head, his face full of a silly, happy smile. "No, I can't. You know what? She kissed me." I was surprised. "What?" "The other day, when I was cooking for her, she unexpectedly kissed my cheek and said I was too good. So I decided to keep my distance from you. Even if it's just acting, I don't want her to get jealous." I explained. "Anyway, I've already been criticized. Just let this character play out. You're bad, but I'm obsessed. You're dark, and I'm red." I agreed, after all, if fans cursed someone, it wouldn't be me. Finally, the last day of filming for the show arrived. The director introduced a new game, The Last Kiss. The rule was that each person would choose one guest who had moved them the most over the past period, and the two would look into each other's eyes for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, if they actively kissed, it meant they were leaving the show together. If not, it meant they were giving up on the other person. I maintained my role as the loyal girlfriend and chose Sam. Before filming, the director called us aside privately. "You two are one of the most talked about couples, so after looking at each other later, you two should kiss, okay?" He turned to me, emphasizing, "When he kisses you, Nina, close your eyes and shed a single tear." Sam and I were both bewildered. Why? Oh my God, that's the script for the traitor turning back to draw out emotions. Emotional and physical torture for fame. After the kiss, Nina, you'll say you're giving up on him. And Sam, You'll say you regret it and realize she's the one you love most. If this couple performs well, it will definitely explode on the hot search. The game began. Sam and I stared at each other. I had to recall all the sad things in my life to keep from smiling. Finally, 2 minutes passed. I leaned closer but inadvertently met Luke's eyes standing behind Sam. His eyes, initially gentle, now became profound like they had absorbed ink. His right hand clenched at his side, veins prominent. Sam also leaned closer. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and swung my arm hard. Slap, the sound of the slap echoed throughout the studio, clear and sharp. Then, a series of other slaps followed. Sam and I both turned back, only to see Luke clapping. "Well done," he smiled, his eyes sparkling. Everyone in the studio was stunned and didn't understand why they also started clapping along. It killed me. Why are they clapping in this situation? Oh my God, after so many episodes of enduring, that slap released all the pent-up frustration. Come on, I'm used to this kind of thing. In the end, they'll still leave the show hand in hand. Sam deserves that slap. Aren't you his friend? You steal his girl like that? And you're clapping and cheering? Is that really honorable? Luke shrugged, smiling faintly. I'm just clapping to praise a beautiful and brave girl. Is there anything wrong with that? An unmarried man, an unmarried woman. Is there anything I've done that's not honorable? The show continued. The next person to take the stage was Luke. He chose me to participate in the last kiss game together. By this point, no matter how emotionless I tried to be, I could already feel his affection. When our eyes met, my body temperature seemed to soar, my heart pounding so fast I couldn't hide it. Several times, I almost couldn't endure it. I could only try to restrain myself, forcing myself not to avert his gaze. I remembered in high school, he was much shyer than me. Every time our eyes accidentally met, he was usually the first to look away, but now it was different. His eyes were slightly raised, his gaze cherishing every inch of my face. My heart felt like it was burning. I felt my face flush, even hearing the clear thumping of my heart in my ears. 2 minutes passed and the game ended. The next person was Sam, and it was no surprise that he chose Chloe. The two stood opposite each other, Sam's face filled with his familiar, gentle smile. Sam was a typical rich kid, born into good conditions, never having experienced hardship and never having known true love. Everything changed when he met Chloe. From the day he attended that charity ball years ago, he quickly became infatuated, unable to forget her. He no longer wanted to go to the company, only determined to pursue an acting career. In reality, with his looks, he wouldn't be as unpopular as he was now. It was because he lacked motivation, seeing Chloe as his top priority. He wouldn't accept supporting roles, instead running to play extras in her films. After many times like this, even his manager ignored him. Later, Sam even planned to ask his parents to invest in a film where he and Chloe would star. The result was a severe scolding, and he had to give up that idea. All the reasons, like my ex-girlfriends refused to participate, were just excuses. In fact, he had no ex-girlfriends. He chose me only because I was his cousin. Later, when he met Chloe, he could easily explain. I understood him better than anyone, knew what he thought, what he wanted, because no one understood him like his cousin. Time continued, Sam's eyes still full of affection, while Chloe constantly avoided his gaze. 2 minutes ended, and the MC announced the next pair. Chloe chose Luke. Sam's smile froze on his face. He looked at her blankly, full of shock. Chloe avoided his gaze, turning to face Luke. Luke frowned and asked, "Why did you choose me?" She looked up, her eyes sparkling brightly, just as he had said. An unmarried man, an unmarried woman, what can't be? The atmosphere in the studio became tense. Sam was almost out of his mind, because throughout the past few days of filming, he and Chloe had been inseparable. Despite tens of thousands of curses from netizens, he still smiled brightly like a child. When facing Chloe, Luke's gaze was not focused. He turned to look at me, but I immediately averted my eyes. Chloe also noticed it. After the game ended, her eyes were red with tears. This slaughterhouse finally ended. Other than my school days, I had never felt time pass so slowly. Today, the show officially aired, but it was predicted that all 4 of us would be cursed equally. Netizens dug up videos from the first episode, cutting them into drama analysis clips. In the picture, Luke was gently lifting my face, his eyes tender and deep, as if utterly enchanted. At the end of the hallway, Chloe was looking in our direction. And in the room opposite, Sam was also smiling at Chloe. The 4-way slaughterhouse photo was officially created. Actually, at that time, Luke was just checking if my nose was crooked after the collision. It was only because his gaze seemed so affectionate that it was misunderstood as a suggestive, emotional scene. Online comments were buzzing. I think Nina Nguyen is the real green tea girl. Clearly involved with Luke on the first day, yet still pretending to be deeply in love, making Sam bear the blame. The truly pitiful one is Chloe. Pitiful what? Didn't she also flirt ambiguously with Sam? Why does no one mention Luke? Eating from the bowl but looking at the pot and still getting away with it. He didn't do anything. He declared several times on Weibo that he doesn't love anyone and doesn't want to be shipped anymore. What else do you want? Isn't he trying to create the image of a lost white moonlight? Now he's hitting on someone else's girlfriend. And I, the lost white moonlight, stood in the night breeze, reading all the comments, sighing. A deep male voice came from behind. "Why are you standing here?" Luke approached. Sam said he wanted some quiet time alone, so he kicked me out. He frowned, his tone somewhat cold. "Nina Nguyen, how long do you plan to put up with him?" I thought that after filming, there would be some peace, but it wasn't so. The show's popularity remained very high. Everyone had fans cursing them and anti-fans scolding them, so all four of us were cursed fairly. Even though I was scolded, money still consistently landed in my account. Recently, I received many new collaboration offers, among them Luke's studio. I immediately agreed without hesitation. During work hours, my phone chimed, the screen showing. Upgraded Luke sent a new message. "What are you doing?" "Working." "What about you?" "Waiting for you to settle accounts. You still haven't come to scold me for going around saying you're my lost white moonlight. When are you free to settle accounts?" "Anytime, but I'm busy with many things." "Then do you need me to take you home? I'm downstairs." When work finished, it was already dark. As soon as I left the set, I saw Luke leaning against his car, waiting for me. Today, he wasn't wearing his usual suit but a light gray hoodie, looking like a college student after class. He opened the car door for me and smiled softly. "You're as beautiful as ever today." "Thanks." I was a little shy, unaccustomed to such direct compliments. Luke didn't seem to mind much. As he buckled my seatbelt, he asked naturally, "How are you and Sam doing these days?" "We broke up," I replied concisely. His hand paused, his eyes lighting up. "Really? You don't have to be so happy." "He doesn't deserve you." I didn't know how to react, so I changed the subject. "Didn't you say you wanted me to settle accounts? That funeral wreath that day, you sent it, didn't you? And who told you I was dead?" Luke skipped the first question naturally, his tone calm. "Liam." I froze, that bastard. Luke looked at me and gave a faint smile. "Studying abroad in Taiwan." No, I mean that name." I remembered running into Liam by chance when I returned home for Tet. He had gained weight and his face was covered in acne. In high school, every time I looked at him, I felt inferior. Now, after I had lost weight and become more beautiful, I subconsciously wanted to make up for something in the past. So when he invited me to dinner, I agreed, but I regretted it that very night. He seemed to have stopped at age 17, making no progress, still hanging out with his old group of friends and having empty conversations. I took out my latest iPhone. He laughed loudly. "Oh, you seem really rich, a true tycoon." I explained that I couldn't be contacted because I had gone to study abroad. He raised an eyebrow. "I heard those study abroad students like to party a lot, huh?" I mentioned Luke, and his eyes flashed. He's probably just following his dad, working as a factory laborer. At 17, he used to be a bad boy who made many hearts flutter. But at 20-something, still like that, it was truly unacceptable. Throughout the meal, my beautiful memories were suddenly erased. The climax was when he accidentally placed his hand on my thigh. I couldn't help but slap him and run away. Afterward, when Luke came asking about me, he didn't hesitate to say, "Dead, that trash." Luke's voice was also very cold. "So, did he also mention the part about me having no appetite?" "No," he shook his head. "After you disappeared, I asked everywhere. Someone said they saw you at the doctor, maybe for a stomach exam. I was worried, so I went to your house to find you, but the landlord said your family had moved abroad. Then your homeroom teacher said she couldn't contact your parents. The whole class rumored that you had anorexia and were sent abroad for treatment." I clearly felt the power of rumors. Actually, after the college entrance exams, I did go for a stomach exam. Because for 3 years of high school, I was always studying and trying to lose weight. Even if I was thin, I couldn't continuously starve myself for 2 years and still be alive. I usually ate when I was hungry and starved myself when I felt guilty. It went up and down like that, and finally, thanks to the pressure of college exams, I completely lost weight. But the consequence was a stomach as fragile as glass. Just eating a little wrong would cause severe stomach pain. Therefore, after the exams, I went for a gastroscopy. When I woke up after anesthesia, I was caught by a classmate. My mother accidentally said, "She just won't eat anything." And so the rumor spread from one person to another, eventually becoming, Nina Nguyen suffers from severe anorexia and had to go abroad for treatment. The car stopped in front of my house. As I was about to unbuckle my seatbelt, Luke gently took my wrist. "Nina Nguyen, do you know?" I quickly cut him off. "Do you know? That year I brought you lunch just because I wanted to lose weight." I was fully aware that I was avoiding his feelings, but now he had become so outstanding that it scared me. I had seen my weakest, most confused, and most miserable moments, so I couldn't believe that someone could truly love the terrible person I was in the past. At most, it was gratitude, not love. "Nina Nguyen," he still held my hand, "was it truly just about losing weight? If it was just that, you could have simply not brought lunch or thrown the lunchbox away. But you decided to give it to me. Thank you for finding a reason to protect my self-respect." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I regret that I was too shy and sensitive back then. I didn't dare to openly protect you, didn't dare to directly say what I felt, and even your kindness, I only dared to accept under the guise of your weight loss. I regret not complimenting you more, not explicitly saying that your eyes were beautiful, that when you ate, the way your cheeks puffed up made you truly adorable. If I could have said those things back then, perhaps you wouldn't have felt so inferior." He gently smiled, his voice deep like a wave. "So, from now on, I will tell you everything I think. Don't worry, I don't intend to confess my love today. My confession won't be this easy." The atmosphere in the car became quiet, only the familiar melody of Riolu played from the speakers. Riolu is yellow, symbolizing fear, hesitation, as well as a gentle yet strong love. Finally, he released my hand, his voice becoming warmer. "I just wanted to say that if you need it, I can help you find better opportunities. Your old company doesn't deserve you. They exploited your insecurities, led you to surgery, and forced you to pursue a misguided aesthetic standard. Aesthetics always change. I'm worried that one day you'll go down the wrong path by following them again." "I know," I replied. So I refused to renew my contract and returned home. The public bullying stopped after I graduated, but the violence I inflicted on myself only ended when I was 25. I put pressure on myself to lose weight, underwent multiple surgeries, and endured pain. Then one day, when I saw a colleague almost have a silicone implant pierced through her nose, I was terrified. That was the first time I realized I was tired enough. The war between me and my body had come to an end, so I decided to leave the company and return to my hometown. Luke didn't actually confess his feelings, but he naturally appeared in my life. He worked hard to help me find a suitable job and happily invited me to eat at many places. Before, whenever I enjoyed good food, I often thought, "It would be great if you were here." Now, finally, I can take you out to eat. My life gradually became sweet and peaceful. Meanwhile, Sam's life was the opposite, bleak and boring. All day long, he stayed in his room. I brought him some pastries to comfort him. He just sat and sighed. "What's wrong?" He shook his head. "Ha," I didn't ask further. He spooned some ice cream, then asked, "How are things with you and that Luke guy?" "Everything's fine." "That's good. That guy is actually really terrible. You don't know it, but he seems polite on the outside, but behind your back, he's always trying to annoy me." He frowned and grunted. "Honestly, he has his White Moonlight already. He's probably just seeing you as a substitute. It's best not to get involved with insincere people like that." I looked at him and gently asked, "So if you meet someone who's not sincere, will you also let go?" He was silent for quite a while, then finally nodded. "Yes, I'll let go too." On the last day of the show, I met Chloe. As I pulled my suitcase and opened the door to my room, I saw her with her hand raised, about to knock. I froze. "Sia Chloe." Sam Track, her company manager, once told me that defeating a living person is easier than confronting a memory. So I deliberately inserted myself into Luke's life and created ambiguity with Sam. I believed he would get jealous and realize his feelings for me, but in his eyes, I was never truly present. She smiled, choking up. I told myself that at least I had won over her man, so I didn't consider myself a failure. But when Sam said she was his cousin, I realized how ridiculous I was. She looked at me. You must think I'm a clown, don't you? Nina. I was silent for a moment, then replied, You're mistaken. I never paid attention to you, and I didn't know you had so many thoughts. The person who truly cares about you is Sam. He likes you and may never see you as a clown in his entire life. Time passed quickly. Everything became calm and gentle like a still lake. Luke and I naturally gravitated towards each other as if it were the most obvious thing. The first time he said, I like you, was when we were watching the aurora borealis in Norway. After that, he often said, wherever we were, You're so cute when you eat, I really like you. You work so hard, I like you. When you gain a little weight, you're so soft, it's adorable, I like you. Like you gradually turned into a kiss when we parted ways, and I love you always appeared before I hung up the phone. That Tet, I brought my boyfriend home. Sam was also there. Chloe, after canceling her contract with her company, went solo. She came back to find Sam a few times, but he refused. This time, he was serious about his acting career. When he saw me bring Luke in, Sam was stunned, then sighed in disappointment. Little cousin, I'm a man, I understand men. Why didn't you listen to me? He definitely only sees you as a substitute. Luke was also surprised, then smiled at Sam. Oh, an ex-boyfriend. I coughed, This is my cousin. Luke raised an eyebrow. Oh, some blood relation then. I was awkward, not knowing what to say. But it's okay, we'll be family later. There'll be plenty of time to explain. Luke. I never thought I would see Nina Nguyen again, her familiar face, her gentle voice. I felt like I was going crazy, rushing through the crowd and hugging her tightly. It was her, it was really her. Come here for a moment, I have something to discuss. Chloe deliberately called me into the makeup room. She questioned me fiercely. Who is she? Didn't you say the person you liked had passed away and you wouldn't like anyone else? I had repeated these words so many times. I wished Nina Nguyen was alive. How wonderful that would be. At least no one would want to replace her. They kept assuming she was gone, so they took it for granted that I would like someone else. I hated that attitude. Now, finally, I have a girl I can trust. I can tell everyone directly, she is Nina Nguyen. When she covered her face and asked if my nose was crooked, I realized she had gotten a nose job. The tip of her nose was still red. She tried to hold back tears, saying her nose hurt a little and she wanted to cry. I didn't say that I also felt heartbroken. I couldn't imagine how much courage she needed to lie alone on the operating table. Perhaps her anorexia had improved. During the 2-hour car ride, she tried all the snacks I brought. When I asked if it hurt, she shook her head, chewing on an orange, her cheeks puffed up, and said, It doesn't hurt. I felt my heart melt for a moment. Just thinking about her having to get a nose job, an unnamed anger swelled in my heart. Surely her bad boyfriend had made her feel self-conscious about her appearance. Right in front of her, he dared to pursue someone else without considering her feelings. I was truly angry for her, but also secretly happy. Now I dared to act. Defeating a man like that certainly wouldn't be difficult. When we sat at the same desk that year, I often wondered why, even though many boys clearly liked her, she still lacked confidence. Later, I understood that many people expressed their affection in twisted ways, calling her nicknames and mocking her. Putting her down was how they wanted to draw attention to themselves. The day I saw the bloodstains on her chair, I secretly wiped them away. She wrote that person's name in her notebook, each stroke piercing my chest. At that time, I asked myself what I was lacking. Perhaps it was because I was too shy and timid. Two shy people like us found it difficult to come together. I understood that I had no right to ask about her, but eventually, I couldn't restrain myself and secretly met Liam and the boy who called her nicknames. Both of them had feelings for her, but if the way they expressed their love was deceptive and cowardly, I'd rather not love at all. I lived with my grandmother, dependent on her meager pension. My father had remarried and didn't want me to find him. Every time I went to ask for money, I was scolded. However, I still needed to go because I needed money for medical bills. I once thought Nina had never seen my embarrassing interview. Yet she remained calm until she looked at me through the rearview mirror and asked, I heard you've been spreading rumors that I died. It seems she already knew. Does that mean she also realized I had feelings for her? No, it's no longer a silent affection, but real love now. When she was on the IV drip, she fell asleep. I really didn't like this doctor. Even though he's a close friend, he's as noisy as a loudspeaker. But thinking that Nina might need him to monitor her health later, I reluctantly said, "Let's keep in touch." He almost dropped the IV needle. "Are you crazy?" I couldn't understand why she liked someone like Sam. He was filming the show and wasn't even acting, just sticking to Chloe. That day, I intended to cook breakfast for Nina. As soon as I went into the kitchen, I saw him frying eggs for Chloe. She glanced at me and lightly kissed his cheek. I felt uncomfortable. How could Nina be with someone like that? It was like that on live television. I dared not imagine how much she suffered behind the scenes. But I couldn't scold him for fear of upsetting her. After all, I was just someone without a recognized status. I decided to secretly buy online posts to have everyone criticize him. The more people cursed at him, the better. He deserved to be scolded. Everyone criticized Sam, but every night when the show asked if she wanted to change roommates, Nina always chose yes. I just wanted to scream silently, "Oh my God, she wants to get rid of me?" I intentionally dirtied my t-shirt, showing off my muscles to attract her. Her eyes seemed drawn, it worked. I chuckled to myself. The next day, she still chose yes. I couldn't smile anymore. Initially, I thought Chloe and Sam genuinely had feelings for each other. After all, they had kissed. Unexpectedly, in the staring game, she chose me and even showed a strange look of hurt. I didn't understand what she felt hurt about. I was the one being affected. Ignoring someone's rejection and persistently clinging on is no longer called deep affection, but coercion. I once thought Liam said Nina was dead to get revenge on me for hitting him that year. Later, I learned Nina had also hit him. I gave a bitter smile. They really were a match made in heaven for trouble. When I was crying in the interview, he must have been laughing helplessly. But so what? I believe that heaven will listen to my sincere prayers. Music. Scene end.